All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what is happening at this moment in American universities, we're being joined in by our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who's joining us live from New York. Susan, bring us up to speed with what is happening in many of these universities where there are anti-war demonstrations that are being witnessed, and also the role and the manner in which the police has gone about trying to keep order during these protests.
So I will want to talk about the Columbia police that got involved at Columbia University, the NYPD. The NYPD, for the most part, has been praised for, first of all, not creating more chaos, but also by not inflicting any injuries to those protesters who took over that private property, the Hamilton Hall at Columbia University. So that is one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is in the beginning, perhaps these officers were somewhat criticized in some red states, the manner that they were taking protesters away. But then as protests continued to grow, and then there was fears that there are outside agitators and extremists that are guiding these protests, then, it appears that the majority of Americans believe that law enforcement should get involved, not because of peaceful protests and demonstrations. We have to distinguish the two. It's because of vandalism and occupying private property, and also anti-Semitic slurs that we've seen throughout these protests. Not all of them, not everyone who's in these protests do that, but when there are at least 10 or 12 agitators in each protest, then something bad eventually is going to happen, as we're seeing in UCLA. I mean, those images of the police clashing with protesters there are something we haven't seen in many years. So we have to wait and see what the outcome of that will be, how the police will be viewed from UCLA. But for the most part, I think people want this to really simmer down as the summer starts.
Right, indeed. And also we just heard from the American president there, where he put out a brief statement where he said that peaceful protest is allowed under the American Constitution. It is guaranteed according to the First Amendment there.
Right.
But violent protest is not. But here, of course, is the thing. Is it not the job of the police in different states across the United States of America to ensure that the protests can remain peaceful? Because what has happened, especially in the example of the University of California, it was some of these outside elements who came and created the ruckus, which resulted in the clashes, those very unfortunate scenes that were witnessed.
Yeah, so the problem with what's happening on these campuses is not so much the issue with the police. The issue is that because they're private property and they're not public property, the police can't go in without permission of the administrators of the university itself. And some might argue that UCLA waited too long to call the police in, and the Columbia did as well. But until and unless the university gives permission for the police to go in and start making arrests or quelling the violence, they can't do that. I know we did see images of security just being bystanders watching these horrible infightings at UCLA. It's yet to be seen whether this was from the police department or if it was the campus police themselves that just chose to watch and not do anything as people just went at each other's throat.
Right, at this moment, have the security arrangements at these universities been increased? Because what is happened in UCLA should not happen in any other university across the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Columbia that really took the stance in calling the police. That first time that it arrested about 100 students, it really got a pushback from a lot of people. It was the beginning of the protest. And then Columbia sort of stepped aside and let the demonstrators do what they want. And then it got it out of hand again. And I think what you're seeing it as UCLA, it may be the culmination of really what's happening right now. It's hard to imagine that there will be any more chaos more than what we're seeing at UCLA right now.
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Susan Tehrani, for joining us and getting us that perspective there. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.